Who do you think are the top 5 most underrated Shinobis in the Naruto series? What's up, everybody? ForneverWorld here today, and as you guys requested, I deliver. Here's my top 5 most underrated Shinobis in the Naruto series. Basically, the characters that don't necessarily get mentioned when people talk about, great Shinobis, or the characters that don't really get the respect I feel they deserve in the series. So I'm going to start off with number 5, and number 5 is actually 2 brothers that almost never get mentioned when people talk about great Shinobis, and that is Ginkaku, Kinkaku, the Gold and the Silver brothers. Now, these 2 are probably the most nastiest, some of the most nastiest villains in all of Naruto. They were just like despicable people, and the thing about it is that I feel that makes them great is 2 big reasons. One, they brought the second Hokage to his knees and nearly killed him. That is an incredible task for 2 brothers that are, don't even get respect like that, to actually bring the second Hokage down to his knees, and also almost defeated the second Raikage as well. For that alone, right there, that deserves a lot of merit. And also, they had an objective. They had to go and capture the Nine Tails. They were, that was one of their missions. Thing about it is, they didn't capture him necessarily, but the fact that they actually tried is, beyond belief. Like, they tried to capture the Nine Tails, and then, after he basically swallowed these 2, they actually lived inside of him and rampaged inside of him enough to get spit out by him, which definitely gives them some, incredible acclaim in my opinion, and they definitely deserve to be number 5 on my top 5 most underrated Shinobis in Naruto. Number 4, you know him, you love him, Rock Lee. I feel like Rock Lee doesn't get enough respect or enough mentions as he deserves because, from the beginning of the series even up until now, I still always love the character, and I felt like, a Shinobi that doesn't have any particular, he can't use ninjutsu, he can't use genjutsu, but him using his taijutsu, he became such a great Shinobi, and people always look at him like, he don't got no incredible powers, he can't do Susanoo, he can't go QB mode, he can't do none of that, and, he can't do any of that, but just to think that with taijutsu alone, he's a very formidable Shinobi, and could potentially be something out of this world in another decade or so once he becomes even more mature and grows more stronger. I feel like that definitely deserves mention and definitely should be on my top 5 most underrated Shinobis in Naruto at number 4. Coming in at number 3 is Conan. Now, Conan for me is probably one of the most badass females in all of Naruto Shinobis. She is just out of this world. To think that a female alone went up against Toby, or if you still know him as Uchiha Madara, whatever, she went up against him, and she didn't win necessarily the fight, but she did put down, and she nearly defeated him. He lost an arm, he had to use Izanagi, he had to put in work, he nearly died, and she nearly killed Toby, the big villain of this entire series, and I think alone that right there deserves, respect, and people don't mention her enough because, she's a female, and at one point she already got killed off, but I think that definitely she deserves a lot of respect, and that's why she is number 3 on my top 5 most underrated. Coming in at number 2 is another character that hardly ever gets mentioned, and that's the 3rd Raikage. Not the 4th, not the 3rd, the previous one to him. I think that he is just an incredible Shinobi for everything that he did during his time. First of all, he went up against 10,000 Shinobi all by himself. That is godlike, and I believe he fought for, if I'm correct, 10 days straight. An incredible Shinobi, and out of this world, deserves so much praise for that. He also did that, and he made it his job to go up against the Hachibi whenever it broke loose from a host. He, fought him. This guy was just a monster beast. I don't understand why he's not alive, at this day and age, because he was just such an incredible and powerful Shinobi, and definitely deserved, without a shadow of a doubt, to be number 2 on my top 5 most underrated Shinobis, and you should definitely go look more into him because he is an awesome Shinobi. Coming in at number 1 is a personal favorite character of mine, and I think he just far surpasses anything you could think of, and I'm talking about Shikamaru. The reason why Shikamaru is number 1 for me is because he's not necessarily the most strongest Shinobi. He can't fight for 10 days straight against 10,000 Shinobi. He can't do all these incredible things, but the thing about it is his brain. Shikamaru's tactics, he plans 10,000 steps ahead of everybody, and he actually went up against Hidan and took out Hidan by himself using most of his power, which is his brain, being able to deduce what's going to happen next, being able to play, he's a pro chess player if you think about it on the battlefield, and I think that regardless of how strong somebody could be, if somebody has the mental capacities to, plan ahead, they can always come out on top. And that's why I think Shikamaru definitely deserves praise. He doesn't get enough mentions. It's just always, yeah, Shikamaru, you know, he's very smart. But no, I think that he's an incredible shinobi. And if Naruto somehow does not become Hokage at the end of all this, I definitely think that Shikamaru should probably be the 6th Hokage, because he is just somebody that, you know, he could plan ahead. He's definitely fit to be Hokage. Of course, he has still a little bit of that laziness, but for the most part in Shippuden, that's all went away. And he's just truly an incredible shinobi that is #1 on my top 5 most underrated, and definitely people should show him more respect and give him more mentions, because he's just a great shinobi. But again, let me know, who do you think are the top 5 most underrated shinobi in Naruto? Do you agree with my list? Do you think anybody on my list deserves to be top 5, or do you have your own separate list? Let me know in the comment section below, or with a bit of response, give me your thoughts on the top 5 most underrated shinobi in Naruto. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thumbs up for the top 5 most underrated, because they definitely deserve more praise. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.